Welcome to 6 Degrees of Pixelation, the show that leverages the facade of a respected social theory, that being 6 degrees of separation, to bring you what amounts to a video game and pop culture trivia dump. I'm Caleb, this is my office, and that is a throwing star target I made out of a closet shelf in 7th grade. My mother was not happy about that. But we'll see how she feels when she sees this. Today I will be connecting Hancock and Tony Hawk, a pair that is as unrelated as it is fun to say. Hancock is the smooth-voiced ghoul mayor of Fallout 4's conspicuously named neighborhood of Goodneighbor. And Tony Hawk, of course, played the integral role of Guy Answering Phone in 1989's Gleaming the Cube. Let's watch.
Hello?
He also, I think, was involved in real skateboarding. Let's get right into the very first connection. When Fallout 4 was released, Hancock quickly became a fan favorite character, with his casual demeanor and generally optimistic attitude. He's the mayor of Goodneighbor, a refuge for the downtrodden in the Commonwealth, where citizens must abide by one rule above all others.
With no judgment.
Except, of course, when you must judge others for their own judgment, but that's a nuance even real life can't navigate, so how would we expect a post-apocalyptic hellscape video game to do it? Now yes, I understand that video games can be sandboxes to put our real-world social theories into practice, so by that logic, video games should be better equipped to explore a world of non-judgment. But when our real world is so imbued with judgment, making a video game to explore a world without it is impossible for the bulk of humanity to comprehend. So fuck you, Finn.
Why'd you have to go and say that, huh? Breaking my heart over here.
I immediately got a Tom Waits vibe from Hancock. And for those of you who watch my Let's Plays, you may have noticed a couple of posters of the musician on my office wall. I'm a huge Tom Waits fan, so the possibility of Tom Waits existing in a Fallout game intrigued me, to say the least. So intrigued, in fact, that I asked Danny Chirago, Hancock's voice actor and frontman of the band The Fuxitos, about the connection. Mr. Chirago all but confirmed the influence by posting a video of himself performing a cover of Waits' Step Right Up. Holy shit indeed, Caleb. But that's not the only time Tom Waits has inspired a video game asset. I've always believed that it's kinda hard not to be influenced by Tom Waits. I'd play one of his songs for you right now so you could experience the unique, gruff nature of his voice and the somewhat vaudevillian quality to his music, but sadly, Tom Waits has also inspired many lawsuits. So instead, I'll play this clip of a Buster Keaton movie overlaid by the sound of a tiger growling with a rhinoceros yelp layered in for the high notes. It's pretty close, actually. The Diablo series is also a much beloved inspiration, with its focus on hack-and-slash role-playing mechanics, dark atmosphere, and semi-randomly generated dungeons. It would be hard to isolate a contemporary role-playing game that hasn't felt Diablo's influence. So it seems logical then that one of these great inspirations would inspire the other. Matt Uleman, the sound designer for the Diablo series, has stated that Tom Waits played a role in inspiring him to become a composer. Tom Waits is actually thanked in the Diablo game manual. Now, it's a good thing a terrible Justice League game was ported to the SNES, otherwise we may never had Diablo. Justice League Task Force is a 2D fighter developed by Condor Games and released for the Genesis in 1995. The game is unremarkable in every way, suffering from lag issues, uninspired design, and the unintended desire to just play Street Fighter II instead. It's a much better game. Admittedly, the game is impressive for a couple reasons. One, you can beat Superman with Green Arrow. I'm not a comic book guy, but that just seems absurd. And two, it's not even the shittiest game Superman has ever appeared in. That award goes to Superman 64, a game awful for many reasons, but perhaps one of the primary reasons being that, according to the game's producer Eric Kahn, the licensor was extremely difficult to work with and refused to let Superman kick real people. Now, lack of human violence isn't inherently a bad thing, but this restriction forced the game to adopt a virtual world environment, which likely played a role in the game's demise. Back to Justice League Task Force. At the time, Blizzard was a little-known developer, and one way to show your chops to the gaming world is to work on shitty licensed games. So that's what they did, porting Justice League Task Force to the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. This relationship between Condor and Blizzard spawned what would become Diablo. Now, one thing I'm very happy about is that Blizzard did not take inspiration from one of the late-game bosses of Justice League Task Force, a half-cheetah, half-woman character named, uninspiringly, Cheetah. So thank you, Blizzard, for not including a cheetah woman in your game. I don't need yet another game encouraging me to consider bestiality. I assume that was the intention. Not that I am encouraging that, I just assume that's what they're trying to do. Besides, including a superhuman cheetah person in a game is practically a death knell. Justice League Task Force is at best a mediocre 2D fighter. It would be a stretch to call fellow cheetah featuring game, the Cheetahmen, mediocre in any respect. It is, to some players, the worst NES experience ever. Not only are the visuals atrocious, but the hit detection is inconsistent. It's too generous sometimes, and at other times it's just way too restrictive. And the scrolling is pesky in that it requires arbitrary events to be triggered in order to function properly. Like here, I can't climb this ladder until I knock the screen just a few more pixels to the right. Ugh. And the game locks up constantly, forcing the player out of that terrible 2D action facade into a maraca-based dance simulator. Hey, maybe I can connect the Cheetahmen to Dance Dance Revolution in a future 6 Degrees of Pixelation video. Well, I probably won't do that. The Cheetahmen was sold as part of Action 52 from Active Enterprises, a collection of 52 games on a single cartridge. This type of bulk game curation historically insists on a fair amount of shovelware, hoping to bank on that quantity over quality mentality of gullible customers. But when even the collection's showcase game is this bad, the rest of the games have even less of a chance of being playable. The Cheetahmen was supposed to be Active Enterprises' response to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. At least they got the martial arts plus animal plus historical figure namesake formula down, so here we've got Apollo, the Greek god of music, Hercules, the Greek demigod, and Ares, the ram constellation, I guess, because there isn't a cheetah constellation. All we're missing is Pan, the Greek god of fucking everyone. Really, he's not just interested in goats, as you may have learned in school. Or as I may have learned in my, apparently, bestiality-focused school. You know, Pan wanted to f people too, teacher. Active Enterprises continued to pan-fuck its customers, even beyond the Cheetahmen. The company advertised a competition in which anyone capable of completing level 8 of Ooze, another side-scrolling affair on the Action 52 cart, would be entered into a prize drawing to win over $100,000. The problem is that the game reportedly crashed on level 2, making this prize impossible to win. I say reported to crash, as I couldn't verify this crash because I couldn't even get past the first jump obstacle on level 1. And I know how to jump in video games. I've done it several times over the years. This game simply does not work. Developers who purposefully screw over their customers should be ashamed of themselves. It's a good thing this never happened again. Of course it happened again. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater is a game that in many ways defined what a sandbox game could be. The first installment of the series was released in 1999, 2 years before Grand Theft Auto 3, which many considered to be the grandfather of open-world gameplay. Now, it's hard to overstate just how much this game grabbed people. I remember playing a demo of the game distributed by Pizza Hut on a PlayStation demo disc for hours. This was just the first warehouse level of the game, a level that is absolutely archaic by today's standards. Imagine a single level, 3-minute time limit, and repeat until morning. And this magic remained bottled for a few more games in the series. But then came Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5, a game that was sold to customers without there actually being a game at all. Let me explain. In 2000, Activision bought the rights to make Tony Hawk games for the following 15 years. As these rights were impending expiration in 2015, Activision wanted a way to continue milking its customers for money. But they didn't have a Tony Hawk game ready to go, so they took parts of the 2012 Tony Hawk's Pro Skater HD game and managed to weasel in a 5th installment of it, releasing it on the very last day that they had the rights. Well, that was close. Gosh, so they made a masterpiece just in the nick of time, right? Not quite. The only thing ready on the day that the game had to be submitted to be manufactured, distributed, and pulled over bureaucratic hurdles was a tutorial level. But that didn't stop Activision. They released the disc anyway. Then, using that manufacturing, distribution, and bureaucracy time I just mentioned, bandaged the proper game as much as they could. When the game actually hit shelves, Activision simultaneously released a 7.5 gigabit patch, which, as you can imagine, wasn't a patch at all, but was instead the entire rest of the game. And those bandages I mentioned, they didn't fix much. Even with the massive patch, the game was glitchy, buggy, and overall a far cry from the Pizza Hut demo disc experience I remember. This has been 6 Degrees of Pixelation, from Hancock to Tony Hawk. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. I'd like to turn 6 Degrees of Pixelation into a legitimate series, and the more positive feedback I receive, the more likely that is to happen. So share the video with your gaming and trivia nerd friends. They might enjoy it. They'll thank you for it. They probably won't. They hate you. You'll find a link in the description below to a Google Doc with my script and my notes and any sources that I use, so that you can dig into them a little bit more if you'd like to. I'm the type of person that likes to do that, so you may be as well. And don't forget to subscribe, please. I do trivia videos like this, I do some Let's Plays, I do some think pieces. Think pieces are always my favorite, but they just take a little bit more time, and so I fill in the otherwise empty days with these types of videos, the trivia and Let's Plays and things like that. So until next time, I'm Caleb. You're someone who needs Tom Waits in your life. Please go give him a listen. And we are burning books.